Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very sleep-deprived Jin'taan here with a special update on what's been going on in the South, and more specifically, what's been going on with the Circle of Two alliance. As it seems that we're not going to be able to see what the impacts of Citadel proliferation will have on Civil Warfare, as, once again, metagaming has taken priority over strategy and planning. This whole still unfolding story began at roughly 2 AM UTC on September the 12th, where the judge, previously CO2's head Diplo and CSM representative, trusted by his fellow alliance mates, made his play, transferring huge amounts of assets from CO2 to various enemy alliances, primarily Test Alliance Please Ignore, but most poignantly, transferring their capital Keepstar to the Goonswarm Federation. This is a rather ironic twist of fate, given that CO2 were painted as backstabbers by the Goonswarm-led Imperium in the wake of World War B. After this, the judge stole as much as he could from the Alliance before inevitably being kicked. The haul collected includes the entirety of CO2's recently created Dread replacement contracts that were made in the wake of the massacre at XWY, alongside all of CO2's citadels in their capital system of 68 FT, not to mention all of the liquid ISK in both the SRP and their Renter Alliance. This traps CO2 inside a place they can only ever undock from once, and leaving the Alliance with no strategic location to retreat to. The tally of loot is as of yet unclear, but estimates are putting it at over 1.5 trillion ISK, the largest theft in EVE Online's history by a huge margin, with previous thefts barely scraping the 1 trillion ISK mark. And whilst it's obviously a moot point, this roughly puts the USD cost at around $10,000. The aftermath of this theft has proven absolutely catastrophic, leaving CO2 stuck needing to extract their remaining assets from their staging Keepstar, a process which will take 20 days under the current mechanics. And even then, they'll be forced to pay 15% of the worth of those items, as well as putting their assets in derelict, right into the hands of the PL-affiliated Wrecking Crew, a group which are known to be experts at killing lone supers and capitals. And as if that weren't bad enough, Goonswarm and Test have joined forces, bluing each other in order to lay siege to this Keepstar, bubbling it to such a degree that pretty much nothing can leave the grid alive. In addition to this, during the chaotic few hours following the betrayal, GigX, the leader of CO2, was broadcast live on stream attempting to dox the judge, as well as reportedly sending him death threats directly. This was then followed by GigX kicking one of the main corporations in CO2 in order to kill the stream. Although this effort proved unsuccessful, as the judge had characters in many different corporations within CO2. Then, finally, at 8 minutes past 8, GigX also reported that he had been banned from the game, most likely due to real-life threats, which are a breach of EVE Online's EULA. In order to get the full story from the ground up, I went to talk to the players directly involved. First of all, the center of the firestorm himself, the judge. So, the judge, what sparked your decision to do what you did?
I've been in Circle of Two for right around 5 years, and through that time, I've moved up the ranks in CO2, from a line member, junior Diplo, and then eventually head Diplo. In that time, things have gone from good to bad to arguably worse. Gigs has personally threatened a lot of people. He's made a lot of bad calls. Kicked corporations, threatened to revoke docking statuses if they didn't agree with him, and has even kicked a corporation because they wanted to meet with him for a morale boost. This kind of thing is, straws. But the thing that really broke it was the disbanding of Legacy, and all of that happening while I was at CSM Summit, unable to really try and counter that at all.
For reference, the CSM Summit is where a small group of democratically elected players are flown up to Iceland in order to help provide feedback to CCP directly about EVE Online. Do you feel like you've done the right thing? Do you feel like you were justified in what you did?
I feel like I was justified, but I don't feel like I've done the right thing. I'm a real dirtbag. I'm a real shitbag for having done this. to an alliance that I've been a part of for a long time and that I still do care about. I do care about the people in CO2. But at the end of the day, drastic actions sometimes have a way of coming around to bettering the people that need to be bettered. And I'm sure that now some of the gloss of CO2 has been removed, that some of these people that should be in a better alliance, that should be, not suppressed by their leader, that they'll have the balls to be able to go and move on.
So, what are the next steps for you from here on out?
I've really made no big decision on what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go. Goon Swarm is obviously a top contender, being the people that bought the Keepstar. They're interested in having me. So that's probably where I'll end up. But in between that, there's a lot of corporations that have been removed for no reason. People that weren't given time to evac. People that, have made major losses from being in CO2, who put in their time and effort just like I did for years. So I'm going to try and share some of the reward, so to speak, of this theft around and see if we can get everyone back on some even footing.
All right, brilliant. Any final remarks?
Keep everything in game, guys. There's a lot of real life threats going out at the moment. Threats of doxing, etc., etc. Just keep everything in game. It is a game at the end of the day, no matter how much time we put into it. And, stay classy.
After this, in order to provide a counterpoint, I also interviewed Beppe, a lead FC within CO2. So, Beppe, what do you think sparked this decision by the judge?
Well, probably a few things from my perspective. I've kind of noticed some underlying tension between GigX and the judge for a while now. It became the most clear while Judge was in Iceland doing his CSM stuff. He was not happy about the legacy thing falling apart. It seemed like that he was taking that kind of personally. So, and then between that, some little cues here and there, and his Reddit post, it seems like there's been some tension between him and GigX for a while now. Some other stuff that's coming to light is just some shady stuff from the judge in the past that it's kind of pointing that this might have been a long con. I don't know. We're still getting all the info.
How do you feel about what the judge has done?
I'm apathetic, personally. I just don't really care anymore. This whole thing, first with Test and now with the judge, it's just kind of drained me of any emotional investment in all this. But there's a lot of anger right now. Judge is saying that he didn't do this to hurt the line members, but he kind of targeted the specific stuff that affects line members. There's no other way to... That's not even spin. That's not Kool-Aid. That's just fact. He's fucking line members over pretty bad with this.
How are you planning to recover from this and bring CO2 back, if at all?
It's a little early to answer that one.
Fair enough, but are you confident that we'll see something more from CO2 in the future?
Also a little early to tell. I don't know if you've been watching the judge stream or not, but got a little heated between GigX and the judge in chat. So I don't even know if GigX will be around much longer, to be honest. We'll see.
All right, thank you for your time. Any final remarks?
No, not really.
So that's all the facts that we have access to right now. However, this story is, as I said, currently unfolding, and I'm going to continue to cover the war in the south, as I imagine CO2's attempt to break out of the siege and save their assets, or at least have a last hurrah, will be soon to follow, signalling probably the end of the Blue Donut War, unless it will follow Try to the grave as well. So, until next time, fly smart.